Welcome, everybody, to Cinema Royale. I am Travis Hobson of PunchdrunkCritics.com, and on this episode, we are talking two films coming out this holiday season. One is Ava DuVernay's Origin, and the other is The Color Purple. Is the remake of the classic film that everybody's grandma loves. At least in my family, all the black women love the original Color Purple and are wary of this movie. They're wary of this film. So we're going to talk about whether or not they should be going to see it or not. And joining me on this episode is Jamie Broadnax of Black Girl Nerds. My friend, how are you doing, Jamie?
Good. How are you?
I am all right. Anybody who's just watched the previous episode of the show will see that I'm wearing the same shirt. It's because we shot the episodes back to back. So excuse me. I forgot to change my shirt. Anyway, let's talk about Origin. Jamie, I literally just had a conversation with another friend of mine who was talking about, I brought up that we were going to talk about Origin, and she said, I can't believe that they turned Cast into a movie. I can't see how that was even possible, was the first
Mm.
thing that she said. And that seems to be the, prevailing idea when it comes to this movie. Cast, Isabel Wilkerson's book about caste systems around the world does
Mm.
not lend itself to a narrative feature film. It probably would be
Mm.
easier to do as a documentary, but Ava DuVernay has turned it into a feature film, a narrative. How do you think she did with it?
Yeah, so I have not read the book Cast, so I can't speak from the perspective of someone who knows the source material and the adaptation into the film. But from what I understand, the way Ava captured this story is just focusing on Isabel Wilkerson's research.
Mm-hmm.
And not diving into what the caste system is. I mean, that's discussed in the film, but not diving into the details about, how these systems affect different communities and all of that. Like really diving into those details and like the repercussions of how those oppressive systems affect people. She explores bits and pieces of that, and we'll talk about that more as like we see that in the South Asian communities. We see that with the storyline between the Jewish woman and the former Nazi soldier, their storyline, and then a couple in the Jim Crow South. So we see different sub stories that are reflective, but overall, I think the overarching narrative is just focusing on Isabel Wilkerson's research. And then this well-crafted sort of, love story that happens with her and her husband, sort of being her support system. And then also this great relationship that she has with her cousin, played by Niecy Nash Betts, who just gave one of the most remarkable and extraordinary performances, I think, of her career in this film. So yeah, I personally, I liked the way the narrative was presented. But after seeing this film, and I put this in my review, I do want to read the book. So
Right.
it's one of those movies that made me go, okay, now I got to read the book. Now I got to do a deeper dive into this
Right.
subject matter.
Yeah, because the idea of cast is it's overwhelming, especially in how it relates to racism and our treatment of Black people here in this country, and treatment of the Jews in Germany, and like you said, the Dalits in India, and stuff like that. It's a really all-encompassing idea that Isabel Wilkerson lays out for you in Cast. To see it brought into a movie that's weaved in with this personal story of Isabel, and she's going through a series of tragedies. That's like
Yeah.
really the core of the film, is her finding herself and through her research after one tragedy after another after another, and picking up the pieces, and doing that, while taking on this gigantic subject. I think that's the thing that I think sticks with me the most about it, because it's not always perfect. It can be at times a bit clunky, but the fact that Ava was able to do it and make me feel something for what Isabel's going through the whole time, her personal journey. She's going through a journey this whole way. I think it's just extraordinary. I think it's Ava's best film, and
I agree.
Ava has done some tremendous stuff. Obviously, to say that
Yes.
she's done her best movie is, I think, high praise.
I agree completely. I've mentioned this in my review. It's a film that sticks with you.
Yeah.
It makes you think, it makes you ponder, it makes you want to, dive in more into the subject matter of caste. I never even thought about caste until watching this film and thinking about how, yeah, race is a construct, and that when you think of situations like a black man oppressing a black like police officer oppressing a black man, and those situations, and that it's not really race, that it's more like um, this power dynamic, this social, class based, oppression kind of thing, which is what caste explores. Because that's something that makes you wonder, like, why is there a black police officer assaulting and harassing another black man? It's not race based violence or harassment. So caste, it kind of it allows you to sort of just ask those questions. And one of the things that cast that Origin does is it doesn't really answer your questions, and that's not what the film is, I think, intended for. I don't think Ava's intent is for anyone to have, or it's Ava's intent is not for any problems to be solved through this film. Like, it's not going to answer the questions about how do we solve issues of racism and systemic oppression in our society. It's more just asking those questions and wondering and exploring what this all means. So yeah, it resonated with me in a way that I just wasn't expecting.
Yeah, it makes you, it's like the book. The movie is designed to make you think about race in a different kind of way.
Yeah.
Like we get a couple scenes in the movie where Isabel is trying to talk about her subject, and the people in her life reduce it to racism, reduce a problem to racism, and she's trying to explain to them that it's about more than that. Like when she's talking with her mom about Trayvon Martin, and her mom is like, he should have just done with what he wanted him to do, and he's basically, and she's, and you get this idea. It's kind of how the idea is planted in Isabel's head to expand on this. Why does my mom feel this way? That this boy should live his life in subservience, in a sense, to this
Mm.
white man, and but she comes from a different generation. She comes from a completely different generation where you did what you had to do to live, and what you did to have to live was to live that way, to be that way. I thought it was interesting when her husband, played by John Bernthal, I really loved that relationship too. Even though we get to see not that much of it, it
Right.
it makes an impact that like looms throughout the movie, even though you don't see that much. But I liked his answer, to that. It's like you shouldn't live your life that way, but I'm afraid white people are afraid of black people. Are
Yeah.
afraid of black people. It's and it's true.
It
Um,
is.
but the movie's designed to make you think about things in a different kind of way, and
Yeah.
so it doesn't feel like like you're in class, which this movie easily could have been under the wrong guidance.
Yeah, I mean, I mentioned, and I know I keep saying this in my review, but I did say that it felt like it was a master class, because I did feel like I was being taught something. I felt like I was being educated, but in a good way, because like I said before, I didn't really know a whole lot about what caste was, or what these systems were and the Dalits. Like, I didn't even know about all of that
Right.
going into this film, and I haven't read the book, so I was completely oblivious to everything going into this film. So I felt very informed, and it did feel like I was taking a class, but it wasn't. And I've been seeing a lot of critics use this term describing her film as didactic, but it was done in a way, I think, that was more helpful to me to learn more. And again, I want to be able to explore this topic even deeper by reading the book.
Right.
and learning about, how these systems oppress people in different countries, and then going back to what we deal with in the United States when we see a Black police officer, harassing and oppressing another Black person. Like, what is that? Where does that mentality come from?
Right.
So yeah, that's what this film, kind of opens the veil when it comes to that type of stuff. So it wasn't a learning experience for me, which
Yeah.
I love it when films do that.
Absolutely. I think this movie uh teaches you without feeling like you're in school. Uh
Yeah.
which is, the thing that I hate about movies that
Done with school.
impart
Just,
wisdom,
yeah.
too far into
Things
that they forget to tell a story that you actually care about. But I actually
yeah.
cared about every step in Isabel's path. I cared about all the things that she was doing, what she was going through, the people in her life who were still with her, the people that she lost. And you brought up Niecy Nash. I thought she was really good in this too. I think it probably is the best thing that she's done. I like Niecy Nash, but I think this is probably, especially in terms of the dramatic work, I think she's really,
Yeah.
really great here. But all props to Anjanou Ellis. She's
Yes.
fantastic, fantastic in this. Talk to me a little bit about what you think about her performance and whether or not it is getting the support it needs in this award season.
Okay. Yes. So, as far as her performance goes, it was absolutely beautiful. She carries the film well. We experienced this whole wave of emotions with her character because you mentioned her character undergoes all of this loss throughout very important people in her life. And this is based on the true story of Isabel Wilkerson. So these are people that are, very seminal folks that mean a lot to her that she loses. So she's going through this whole process while doing this research and diving into what caste means and creating this book, which ends up becoming, sort of the magnum opus of her career, this book. So a lot goes on, and to put all of that into that performance for Ingenue, I just thought that was absolutely extraordinary. I'll give you a little bit of an exclusive here on your show. I haven't put it out on my podcast yet, but I had the opportunity to speak to Ingenue for Origin, and she had mentioned the scene that she had done where she's listening on the call, or listening to the voice call of Trayvon Martin. And
Mhm.
as we know, that's a real actual 911 recording of
Yeah.
Trayvon Martin. Well, Ingenue had never heard that call until they filmed that scene. So I thought that scene was just so riveting, so amazing. And you saw all of those emotions in that moment. And for her as an actor to undergo that scene while not even hearing that for the first time, I just thought that was absolutely phenomenal.
I
So
thought, I
she was
mean,
amazing.
let me interrupt you, but I thought to start the movie with the Trayvon Martin reenactment was a brave move on
Yes,
Ava's part because it immediately puts you in your corner. So
yes,
if you know how you're going to feel about a lot of this movie based on that opening scene, if you're defensive about it, you support what happened to Trayvon, whether you want to admit it or not, it puts you in your box. I like that she does that. But then I think what she does from that point on is subvert your expectations to some degree. There's the scene that comes not too long after that where Isabel has a conversation with Nick Offerman's character who's wearing the MAGA hat,
mm,
and it does not go the way you think it's going to go. Like it looks like it's going to start out
yeah,
one way and it goes a completely different way, suggesting that people have more of a connection together if we just try to be open and civil with each other. If we just talk to one another, it just does not go the way you think it's going to play out. And I think the movie's filled with a lot of little moments like this that don't go the way you think they're going to go. I would say the scene with the Connie Nielsen's character, the Germans That doesn't go quite the way you think it's going to go either. There's a lot of little scenes like that where Ava is doing new things and imparting wisdom in ways that you're not expecting.
And I mean, there were moments where I just they gutted me. I cried, like the scene with the little black boy who's in Little League with his white colleagues,
Right.
and he's not allowed to be in the same swimming pool as his white colleagues. And he wanted to swim, and all of the white kids had to get out of the pool and they had to put him on a float because he couldn't touch the water,
Touch the water.
because it would be deemed unsanitary, and he had to be floated along the water to enjoy, that method of swimming, in order to participate with his little league colleagues. And that just brought me to tears in that moment.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's these moments that, we see throughout the film that just shows the circumstances of what racism and oppression does to people and does to communities, and then how over the long term that still affects the psyche of a generation of people. So yeah, Ava just did this beautifully.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And oh yeah, and you asked about the campaign around the award season.
Let's talk about the elephant in the room. Is Neon doing enough to support Origin? Is it doing enough to support Anjanou Ellis's performance? I say the answer is no. What do you think?
Absolutely not. It's unfortunate because Neon is not, they're not a stranger to the awards conversation, right? I mean, Parasite won Best Picture. That's a Neon film.
Parasite, The Lady on Fire, they know how to try to promote a movie.
Yeah, I, Tanya. I mean, there's films that have gotten awards or have been in the awards conversation that are Neon films. So the fact that Origin is not getting any love whatsoever is just, it blows my mind. For those that don't know, just a little inside baseball for you guys, we as critics, we are allowed to screen these films before we vote on, for at least for the Critics' Choice Association, around December is when we vote.
You and
around Thanksgiving.
We saw it at the Guild screening in LA, if I remember right, didn't we?
I got a link. Oh. I didn't even screen it in a theater.
Oh, wait, you weren't with us that day.
No, I didn't get a link. Excuse me. I did not get a link. I got a box set. That's what I was going to allude to. I got the box set
too. I thought you were with us that day when we were out in LA and we went to the Guild screening of it.
No, I didn't go to the Guild screening.
It was some other.
Usually we'll get right. Usually we'll get. What's that?
It was some other black critic. Don't worry about it.
Some other black critic.
Yeah.
We're all a monolith. But no, like we'll usually get the links and we're able to watch these in time. And for some of us critics, we've seen a lot of the movies already. Mm-hmm. But for some, it's a bit of a dump where that we've got to like binge these all before before December. But with Neon, they give us a box set on DVD. Who owns a DVD player these days? Not many of us.
I had to buy one like 2 weeks ago because I had to watch Ferrari and they didn't send the link to it. They sent a DVD. I was like,
I still haven't seen Ferrari because of that. I still haven't seen it.
I bought a $19 DVD player off Facebook or from somebody around the corner. So
the only reason I saw Origin because I made it a priority to see Origin as soon as I got that Neon box because I knew I wanted to see it. All of the other Neon films that came in that box, I have not yet seen.
We've talked about the Neon box on this show before. Me and some other people. The Neon box is a topic of discussion because it's like the best box. Like the Neon box is just like it's amazing every year. It's all the movies they put out every year, and they present it in a way that, at least for me, like I have the Neon box just happens to be sitting here right in front of me.
Oh, cool!
Like the way it's presented, it makes you want to watch every single movie in there. Like even like I've seen most of them, but there's always like a handful that I haven't seen before. But the way they present it, I want to watch them all because I think they're all good. Like just by looking at the box, the way it's presented.
I think sending a box is fine, but I think that if you really want to make sure that you get enough eyes on your film, make it easily accessible to the
Yes,
critics. Because
absolutely.
in addition to the links conversation, I haven't seen enough talks. I haven't seen enough press screening or press conferences. I haven't seen receptions or tastemaker events for Origin like they have for
Right.
several other films that are on the campaign trail. When you're campaigning for a film, you got to treat it like it's a political campaign. Like
I've
you
seen
got to be
more.
out there
I've seen
shaking
more
hands and
virtual press
kissing babies.
conferences. Yeah, there's been so many virtual press conferences for Ferrari, Poor Things. Like I feel like I'm getting a new one every day with the same people.
Yeah.
It's not been nearly enough for Origin, and I think that's sad. On the one hand, I get it that Neon is probably struggling to find a way to promote this movie. It's not an easy movie, I think, to boil down for people.
Well, another thing too, which bothers me about the promotion is the poster art for the film. I love that, they are a loving couple in the film, but they're centering the film as if this is about John Bernthal and Ingenue as a couple, and it's not. Really, it's Ingenue's film. It's
Yep.
it's it's about her going through this research.
Yep.
So why they have them as the primary source of the marketing materials with the poster art, that to me was a bit of a fail. I think they should have just shown, and I know that there's another poster art that just shows Ingenue's face, but I mostly see them two,
That
which is in
image is
your
behind
background
you
as well.
is the main image.
Yeah. Yeah, I see that as the primary art. And also, they haven't featured any of the other actors. You've got Jasmine Cephas Jones. Reach out to those Hamilton fans.
You
You
know, you
know,
got
you've
you're
got
the
Blair Underwood
most
in this
beautiful
movie.
woman in the
You've
world, Jasmine Cephas Jones, in your movie. Show her.
Yeah.
Show
You
her.
know, you've got tons of other actors that are in this film. Show and highlight them in the poster art. So that's another, issue that I had too with the marketing.
Yeah, yeah. It's just not seem like they're. And I tried to give them some leeway that maybe they're waiting for the wide rollout in a couple weeks. Because I think the movie goes wide on January 19th. But for award season, they need to be pushing it now. It should have been done. It should have been pushed 2 months ago. And it just feels like they're slacking on this and putting their attention elsewhere. And I think that's unfortunate because I think the best movie that Neon has this year is Origin.
Agreed.
And even if this wasn't award season, I'd be saying to push it because I think it's a movie people need to see. Because I think we all need to reevaluate our thinking when it comes to race and
Yes,
reevaluate our thinking to when it comes to a lot to the way we treat people and the reasons why we treat certain people a different kind of way. And we desperately need that line of thinking right now with all the stuff that we got going on in this country. Um, so
I agree.
you'd think there would be a way for them to do that, and it just does not feel like Neon is doing that, and that to me is very disappointing. But
100.
you've heard us talk about Origin. Obviously, we say to go see it. I think it's one of those movies you need to go see. If it comes to your theater and your town, do take a time to go out and check out Origin. All right, let's talk about another movie. The one that my grandparents and the aunts and my aunts and uncles are fearful of. And that is the Color Purple, which is a musical adaptation of the Broadway musical, which I've never seen the Broadway musical. Um,
Oh,
and
okay.
now, yeah, it seems like all of a sudden all my friends have seen it, and I'm like,
Yes,
when did you all go see this thing? And I never got invited to go. Like everybody's like, oh, I love the musical. I saw this great. And I'm like, why didn't you invite me to go? I would have gone. Now I don't feel like I have to because I've seen the movie, but this is a retelling of the story that you are all very familiar with. Stars Fantasia Barrino as Celie. I think she's great in this. My thing, Jamie, that I've been telling people, and it's the people in
mhm.
my family, and our friend Tim Gordon as well. Uh, you gotta put your thoughts on the previous one behind you
Yeah,
and accept this one for what it is. You
yes,
gotta you if you can do that, then I think you're going to love this version because I love this version. I love this version of The Color Purple. The Color Purple's not. I mean, look, the 1985 one, I like it, but I was 8 years old when it came out. I watched it, and I never could have appreciated it back then, for what it was. Watched it older, and I like it. but I have more of a connection to this one because it's more contemporary. And I love the way it tells its story. I think the musical numbers are fantastic. I think Fantasia, I think Seeley goes through an evolution that is believable. And I'll be damned if Danielle Brooks isn't the best thing I've seen all year on screen. I will say that when I was watching The Color Purple, at first I was like, well, this is good, but it's not blowing me away. It's good. But as soon as Danielle Brooks shows up, the movie cranks up to 10. And I was like, oh, okay, now I get it. Okay, yeah, now this movie's hitting because Daniel Brooks is on fire throughout this movie. She's ferocious in every scene. When she has to bring it down and show, she goes through she goes through her character who was originally played by Oprah. She goes through her down period. I have never seen her act that well in her life. She's fantastic in this. I think she's the best thing about this version of The Color Purple, which is great all around in terms of its ensemble. But Daniel Brooks is just stunning in this.
Yeah, I mean, I used to live in New York City, so over 15 years ago, I actually was able to see the Broadway musical, and Fantasia was Seeley then, and she had a very short run on Broadway. So I'm glad that I was able to see it when Fantasia was on stage. So to see her, do this live action version was amazing when I first heard about her being cast in the role. But you're right, you have to not really associate the film, the 1985 film, with this and think of it as I'm going to see a Broadway play on the big screen.
Right.
That's the way you have to look at it because it's a musical. It's not a reboot. It's not a remake. I remember when I was putting out the trailer on Black Girl Nerds and people were leaving their comments saying, why are they doing a reboot? Why are they doing a remake? It's like, you guys, it's the musical.
Right.
But everything you said is on point. I mean, Danielle Brooks played Sophia also on Broadway, so she was able to marinate in that role for so many years, doing that performance night after night. And obviously it has paid off because she is stunning as Sophia. And I am crossing my fingers that she gets an Oscar nomination because she is so good, and hopefully she wins it too. But
so too. It's a shame that we might get her versus Niecy Nash in that category. If assuming Niecy Nash gets in there, I'm one of these that's always kind of
I don't know.
I always feel like they will let one black actor in, but not more than one in a lot of cases. Like I still have that feeling that Jeffrey Wright or Colman Domingo will get in for Best Actor, but maybe not both. And I
well,
kind
the black well in the
the
supporting actress category, the two black actresses is definitely Davine and Danielle. I don't know about Niecy though. I don't think she's getting it.
I feel like Divine might have the edge right now, but as much as I like her in that movie, I think Danielle Brooks is better.
Yeah, I had thoughts about that, but it's for another day. I love the holdovers. Don't get me wrong. I love it. I just the whole mammy-ish kind of role.
I was gonna say, are you gonna bring up the word mammy for?
Yeah, that it's that's the vibe that I got of her character, and I'm like, are we really gonna be rewarding those type of performances again? But I'm gonna support her on the sidelines.
Yeah, the winners tend to be inclined to support that kind of performance rather than the kind that Danielle Brooks gives in our Purple.
Yeah, or than what Niecy Nash gave, and or even what Erica Alexander gave in American Fiction. I mean, she should be considered, and she got an Independent Spirit Award nomination.
Absolutely. What a great year for Black supporting actresses.
Yeah,
this year. Yeah, I didn't even really think about it until you mentioned Eric Alexander. It really is a fantastic year because Taraji P. Henson could also carries a lot of the load that Danielle Brooks does in The Color Purple too. She's just as fiery and lifts up this movie just as much as she does in a lot of cases too as Suge. So it's just so many great performances all around.
So many great, and I really loved Colman Domingo in this. I thought he was great as Mr. He created Mr. as his own. Mr. was very nuanced, very complex. There were times that I liked Mr. He was very charismatic and
Right.
enamoring on screen, but then I hated him and he was just like repulsive at times. So I had all of these mixed emotions
Yeah.
throughout this journey about Mr. And yeah, the film is very different from the 1985 version because there is this redemptive arc and this forgiveness arc that happens between Mr. and Celie, which honestly I actually thought made more sense, specifically with Celie's character, than what we saw in the 1985 film. So I liked that take.
There are little things in this movie that they change or enhance that I think are beneficial, and make more sense in today's context. Like the relationship between Suge and Celie, which is in this version is, I think, more overtly romantic,
Yes.
than it was in the 1985 when you didn't see that sort of thing on screen. You just didn't
No.
see it. And it makes sense for them to share a moment in this movie in a way that is undeniable. I think that's one of the reasons why you do movies like this for different generations of people, because
Mm-hmm.
there's different context all the time. I
Yeah.
usually don't complain too much when another version of a movie comes out, because I want to see what the person will bring to it that makes more sense for a different audience. And I
Yeah.
think that's one of the things you get out of this version of The Color Purple that you might not get just by watching the other version.
Absolutely. And I mean, this film did the same thing for me that the 1985 film did, because the scene where Celie reunites with Nettie, I still cried. I'm thinking, okay, I know how this story is going to play out. I know what happens. And it still was so emotionally, just raw, and it impacted me so much that I still cried during that moment. That's how gut-wrenching this film was. So it did a good job on all fronts. And yeah, the music was so good. I really love the music. I love the Hell No song by Danielle Brooks.
So
I
good.
feel like that's going to be like a memeable thing. Like people are going to be on TikTok doing that. Um, but yeah, it's so beautifully crafted. I love the costumes, and
Mhm.
the cinematography looks great. I mean, it's
Yeah.
just the production value on this looks really good. I mean, you can tell that they really put their heart and soul into this production. And
Yeah.
props to Fatima Robinson, the choreographer. I mean, the choreography just looks amazing. The dance moves are just, oh man, out of this world. Like I just can't say
Really
enough
good.
good things about The
If you,
Color
if you
Purple.
have a if you, if any of you have a chance to watch the cast and the producers, Oprah Winfrey, Steven Spielberg, Quincy Jones, talk about the movie, you can see how much they invested in this movie. You can see how much heart and soul and passion they brought to it. I think they've brought themselves to tears on multiple occasions at this point, and the crowd as well. So yeah, if you have a chance to catch any of that, be sure to go and do that, and then go see the movie too. The Color Purple's great, and it comes out I believe on Christmas Day,
Yes.
also. So
And by the way, they did a great job with the casting of the young Celie.
yeah,
Um, Felicia, she looks
yes,
just like Fantasia. I'm
yeah,
just
she really
like
does.
fitting image.
Yeah, yeah.
So
And
great job
the
there.
cast, I mean, we didn't even mention Halle Bailey, who was in The Little Mermaid earlier this year. She's in this as well. It's just the cast of top.
Her
Casa
is
Jr.
in
is
it.
in it. It's like Corey
John
Hawkins,
Batiste is in it.
John
Yeah.
Batiste. There's so many great performers up and down, multi-talented performers. Like almost all of them are multi-talented, can do everything. Yeah, it's
Mhm.
just it's really good. I didn't. I'll be honest. I didn't go in expecting to really feel the way I feel about it. I'm usually kind of like even keeled when it comes to this stuff. Like, yeah, it might be all right. But I really did love The Color Purple, so I want people to go see. I want it to be a hit. I want it to be like one of those holiday hits over the Christmas season. So,
Yeah,
well,
I hope people treat it like an event. Like people, bring their families and they
yeah.
all dress up in purple and, do like with a Black
Like Black
Panther where
Panther,
everybody got all
yeah.
dressed up. Yeah, like make it an
Or we,
event,
we all we all became African royalty for a month or so.
Yeah. Exactly.
Exactly. Oh man. Well, Jamie, this has been fantastic talking with you about Origin and The Color Purple, two movies that we both enthusiastically endorse. And it's good to have that too, because it's not always the case. But thank you very much. You got anything coming up at Black Girl Nerds that you want to tell people about?
Just check out Black Girl Nerds. Every Monday, we have a new podcast episode coming out. As I gave you guys a little bit of an exclusive with Ingenue, we have an interview with her that's going to be coming out next month as Origin makes its nationwide release. So tune in for that. You can listen to our podcast, wherever you like to stream your favorite podcasts. And yeah, that's pretty much it. And I'm just getting ready for the holidays for now. So no more traveling for me for the moment.
Not until next month when I will
Not until next month. Yeah, yeah.
dance. I will see you at some
Dance. Yes, that's right. We'll be talking more movies then.
I know we'll be drowning in movies again. All right. Thank you, Jamie. And thank you, everybody, for tuning in to Cinema Royale. I'm Travis Hobson. You can find me every single day at punchdrunkcritics.com. If you're in the DC area, you can find me in a bunch of different places, Channel 7, Channel 26, wherever. You know where to find me. All right, everybody. Thanks again for tuning in. I will see you next time. Bye. Thanks for checking out the show. If you like what we're laying down, please subscribe to our channel and click the bell to receive notifications for all of our latest stuff.